Welcome to MSP Unplugged, episode number 7, Things You Should Implement. I'm your host, Jeff Hallish. Gotcha. Actually, Jeff is out today. He is out for work, so we wish him the best. I am your host, Paco Lebron. This is our live show where we discuss different ways to run your IT business, whether it's managed services, consulting, break fix, or anything in between. Let me introduce our co-host. We have Tom Bull from Two River Computer.
You can call it whatever you want, Paco.
How you doing today, Tom?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to interacting with you guys tonight.
Well, we appreciate your time coming on here on a Sunday evening there. We also have Tim Taylor from TaylorWorks. Tim, how are you doing?
Hey, guys. How's it going? Doing well. Down here in sunny Florida.
I hear that. It was actually really nice here in Chicago. We actually reached up to close to 60. Beautiful day. A lot of people were hitting the beach looking for beach glass and just kind of just taking in the nice fresh air before the snowstorm hits this week. So we're going to get anywhere between 15 inches. So that's going to
my. Wow.
Yep. So
and then it'll come and then it'll swing east and hit me in New Jersey. Thanks for that.
Well, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, it does.
But so like what we do every week, we go ahead and share a tip or a story with us, that we can learn from. Tom, I'll go ahead and kick it off to you if you have a for us.
I do. I'm going to preface it by saying that when I was at TECHCON Unplugged and I sat in that room with all those really smart people, I realized that I'm far from the smartest tech in the room. Almost everybody there is smarter than me when it comes to technical stuff. So my tip is not of a technical nature. And basically, it's probably something everybody realizes, but bad news doesn't get better with time. It's not fine wine. It's bad news. And if you have a client situation, whether it's you fixing a broken computer or you're having trouble on site or it's a data recovery project or even a problem with an employee, I'm of the mindset that you got to communicate often and completely and as quickly as you can, because if you get in front of it, it's always easier. Instead of ignoring the customer or I'll get back to you tomorrow, I'll have more information tomorrow. Be as upfront as you can without spilling your candy completely, but tell them as much of it upfront, and it will save you in the end because it just does not get better with time.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that 100%. As you mentioned, I think a lot of us know that, there are things that just are outside of our comfort zone. And sometimes there are things that we just run into and things that we just kind of those gotcha moments. The best way, the best policy that you can do for your customers and your clients is just being transparent and making sure they're in the know, make sure that communication is flowing, make sure that they're up to date. Because I can't tell you how many times early on in the business where that is a key piece that I've heard with a lot of prospects that I've been talking to or engaging with. You have to have that communication. You have to have that transparency, because if the client believes they're in the dark and they don't know what's going on, they come up with their own scenarios and situations in their head. And oftentimes it just may not be in your best interest. So being transparent, having that communication to them as much as possible. I can't attest to that anymore, as that you mentioned.
Yeah. And most of your ticketing systems, if you're using one, gives you the ability to do that. I mean, even ones that are not a problem, right? There's kind of a textbook repair. It comes in and you say, hey, thanks for dropping off your widget. And then, a couple hours or a day later, hey, we started working on your widget. And then, hey, your widget's all fixed. Hopefully it goes, that smoothly. But if it doesn't, communicate. And if an email doesn't do it, it's always best to call. If you don't get my rule in our shop here is if you don't hear back from somebody within 4 hours, call them. So that's, again, just to try and stay ahead of it and, put the fire out before it becomes, really big and ugly.
Yeah. Tim, anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the longer you let it go, the worse it gets. That's exactly right. And be extremely transparent with your clients. I mean, it's one of those things that if you ever tell your client something that's not true, it will come back on you. It will. And then your trust is broken. And the biggest thing that we do in IT, honestly, is trust. They've got to trust us, and they've got to believe that we have their best interest at heart. If a client asks you, how much did you mark that up when you sold them something? Tell them, well, I mark it up 10% or I mark it up 15% to cover our cost. I've got to make a little bit on this. But, you got to be upfront with people. I mean, I've been in business 20 years, and I can tell you that's the number one thing. It's trust.
Yeah, that's a big piece. And then, kind of keying off of what Tom had mentioned as well, making that an automated process, having canned responses inside your PSA or your ticketing system responding back. I remember when I was doing computer repair way back when, we had canned responses in our repair shopper system, and it basically followed the entire customer experience from drop off diagnostic all the way down to when it's ready for pickup. And then you had your follow up checking in on them. The more you can kind of understand how that life cycle works, it's just a matter of clicking. It'll add the tags because it'll pull the customer records if you entered it properly, and it kind of goes on its way. So that kind of helps alleviate some of those, man, I just don't have time for it, or man, my day just left me. A couple buttons and doing that work previously will help save you a lot of work moving forward. Yeah, Tim, do you have a tip or a story that you might want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think just being there for your clients, always looking for new technology, new things that are coming down the road, and bringing them to your client before they come and ask you for it. Like dark web scanning, training on phishing emails, doing things like cybersecurity related things that clients don't know. But it's worse when they come to you and say, "Hey, how come you're not doing this over here? I heard my buddy's MSP is doing this." You're like, I need to be doing that for you. So stay up on everything. When you find out something new, then start sharing it with all your clients. Hey, I can do this for you. I can do that for you. Just staying on top of the latest things that are out there. I know it's a lot of work. You got to find new things and bring them new things, but there's new things coming out all the time. And if you don't stay on top of it, you're left in the dust.
Gotcha. Now, where do you normally go to keep up to date with a lot of kind of what's coming out as far as, like SIM and the next gen AVs? Is that more of a networking when you're talking with some of your other peers, other MSPs at conferences, or just of relationships you've had?
Yeah, conferences are a really great thing. I love going to conferences more to see the vendors that are there than anything else, because you go to the big ones, like Autotasks, or TECHCON or IT Nation. There's tons of vendors there, and you'll come across a vendor like, oh my God, I didn't even know I could buy this. This is really cool. It's not that expensive. This would be a great service to my clients. That's probably the best place that I've found, because you can literally talk to the vendor right there and find out how much it's going to cost and everything else. But just reading the trade journals, just keeping up with the other people in MSP groups on Facebook. People ask questions out there all the time. Hey, what are you guys doing about this? And it's a great way to say, hey, have you ever used this product? Did it work well for you? Yeah, the product was great, but the company was hard to work with, or it was too expensive, or you can get some really great tips just doing that.
Gotcha. Tom?
Yeah, we do. We try to do quarterly business reviews with all of our managed clients. Mm-hmm. And, you don't always want to go in there, hey, look what I have to sell you. Right. This time. That happens because you do stumble on something really good. And, right now with the drama with all the ransomware and stuff, that there's lots more that we could be doing to keep them protected. And, we want to let them know about it. And if they don't want it, that's fine, but we have to let them know. And if they don't, one sales technique is you can get them to sign this document that says, Tom told me to do this, and I said, no, thank you. To absolve you. I don't know if it'll hold up, but at least it makes them think about it, about important things that we're trying to help them with. But what I find is that your client tells you what they need. You don't want to be so arrogant to tell them what they want. You want to listen to what they need, and maybe you tweak it and come up with a unique solution or hit it right on target. But I think visiting with the client, they'll tell you, you'll learn more from your clients sometimes than you will at a trade show.
Ultimately, those quarterly reviews you want to be looked as that trusted advisor. They should almost look at you as somebody on their board or part of their management group. It'd be great if they just invite you to their manager meetings, unless they're every week. But you should be. That's the way they should look at you, not just someone who walks in the door trying to sell them something.
Yeah, I used to say, this is back when, Paco, you may not know what this is, but I used to say, we want to be in the front of your Rolodex with your banker, your attorney, and your accountant. We want to be a trusted business partner. We want to know when you're going to expand, when you're going to contract, when you're hiring and firing, and when you're making some movement, so we can help you. So, gain their trust, get in there, be there often. Don't be annoying, but, be in front of them.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I'm in this weird quasi where they try to group me with millennials, which in reality I was always classified as Gen Yers. So I'm the last generation to know what a photo album was, what a Rolodex was, what an actual phone on the wall looked like, that sort of deal. So yes, I've seen a Rolodex on there,
Okay,
but
good.
I know that there's quite a bit that
Somebody brought one into our shop the other day. I'm not even kidding.
Really
Brought it in. She goes, "Yeah, how do I get this into my phone?"
I love
a
it.
lot of typing.
I love
Big
it.
trouble, mister.
Gotcha.
Have
So
you
we're
seen
gonna
Have you seen the clip on YouTube where the two 17-year-olds are trying to dial a rotary phone?
Yes, I did see
They
that.
honestly could not figure out how to make it work. They literally could not. They've never seen one. They
Or
make
showing-
a call with this.
Or showing them the 5 1/4 or the 3 1/4 and the 5 1/2, saying that that it's a save button in real life.
That's funny.
But anyway, let's take a quick break. Want to go ahead to my favorite topic. I want everyone to join us for the 2020 annual TechCon Unplugged, bringing community together. Get away from your business for a weekend of learning, fun, and some new relationships in a getaway retreat. The reason why we call it a getaway retreat is we are assembling like-minded business owners that are, it's not necessarily, it's bigger than a meetup, but it's not a conference. We wanted to make sure that it's something where businesses can take time off once a year, get together, learn from your peers, and really understand kind of where you're at and always learn some new information as well. So like I mentioned, joining those like-minded business owners to help your IT business thrive is so important. And you will also hear from experts and get one-on-one time with just basically people like you that are facing the same type of challenges. And we hope that you're going to walk away with concrete action items to take your business to the next level. It's going to be September 25th to the 27th this year in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We will be back at the Holiday Inn Airport. The hotel nights are $115 a night, I believe. Tickets are $199, all the food included, and a lot of the great times as well with our 2 Friday night and Saturday night socials. So check us out at techconunplugged.com. And Tom, you were there last year. Do you got any feedback from the event last year?
Yeah, I have to say you guys did a great job for your inaugural event. And you were taking cues off of the previous shows, and you took what you learned and really did great. I mean, being in a room with your peers and discussing real life situations that we all have, and this is stuff that you can't tell your friends or your wife, or, sometimes they just don't get it, except Keith's wife. She gets it. So there's a few that, people that I love to engage with, I love to see. I love seeing Joe Kniezevich. I love seeing Jason Miller. I like seeing you, Paco. There's people that I just love to see. So, I mean, you can engage with them over the year and you chat and you text and that, but being one-to-one and having beers and stuff and seeing Marvin is, fantastic. And there's just always something great that comes out of it. And the vendors were good. I'd like to see a little bit more of that for next year. Some of the demonstrations were great. I really enjoyed that. Some great takeaways. And I'm bringing one of our technicians this year so they can get a feel for how to engage with the community, which has been the best takeaway is all of this conversation that's constantly going on.
Perfect. Yeah. So just a little hint. So yes, we are working on expanding. We will have more vendors there at the show. Everything's kind of in process now, which is why there hasn't been many updates to the site just yet. Once those ink dries on the contracts, we can start updating those sites as well. We got a lot of great panelists, a lot that were there last year, and a few new ones that are familiar faces in the community. So stay tuned to see those that are going to be coming as well. And exactly like Tom did, said, we actually developed this event because the community requested it. They really wanted to make sure to really have us get together, make a very convenient event where you don't have to worry about having to track down another place to get to from where you're staying at the hotel to the event, making sure that the food is good food and that you're taken care of when you get there, not having to worry about additional expenses and worrying about having to get to the actual location, which is why we've worked out free parking at the location. We got shuttles coming in from the airport. Like Robert alluded in the comments, I am working with an airline right now to try and get some discounted flight tickets for everyone, and so forth and so on. We worked with United last year. We're working with another airline this year, and we're just trying to make this as convenient as possible with as inclusive as possible, and just making sure that we can get a good experience for our community. Because if the experience is not great, then we're not doing something right. And that's what the purpose of this all is for. So again, appreciate the kind words, Tom. Everyone, if you want to come and join us and see what you missed out last year, TechConUnplugged.com to purchase your ticket.
Can I jump in and just add something to that?
Sure.
Because I was looking at additional shows that I felt would be beneficial for me to go to, and all of the ones that I looked at were during the week. And this subtle thing about you going from Friday night or Friday to Sunday is really spectacular, because especially if you're one or two people in your business, you can't afford to take off the time during the week. The cost of the trip plus the lost revenue for being gone can be a real hit to take. So that's very thoughtful. You know, I don't know if you guys realized how smart that was. I think it's brilliant.
Right. So yeah, and that's kind of the real reason why. One, because of that reason, because it's taken hard to get out, and then two, for those that are in that transition period. So I just spoke with a few that reached out to me on LinkedIn where they're working full time at their job. They've been running their part-time business for the past 2-3 years, and they said, you know what, next month I'm jumping the ship. I'm going ahead and trying to figure it out. What did you do? What did you figure out? And for those that have listened to me for over the past 5.5 years, I've done just that. I worked out full part-time on my business doing computer repair, went full-time, then went into IT consulting / managed services, and kind of just really went that full circle. And so that's why we wanted to make sure we did Friday through Sunday, because it's what we felt our attendees, it would be more convenient for them to attend. It's a little difficult with vendors because obviously this is their job. So, they would prefer to have it during the week for a lot of that. But a lot of our partners and vendors have been really great in working with us to come out in those weekends. And we tried to be mindful of other events that are happening on some of those weekends or crossover, because we don't want to help split the audience in case an audience member wants to go to another show. We want to be mindful of that, and especially for religious and other holidays that might be encompassing on that as well. So we try to do what we can.
You saved me from having to go to my 40th high school reunion, because it's the same weekend. So I got out of that one. So I'm real happy about that.
Gotcha.
That's another reason to become an MSP away from a break fix shop, is you're going to have revenue coming in, whether you're out there billing hours or not. I mean, that's really the main reason. When I started my practice 20 years ago, there was no information about how to start an IT company, how to start a managed service business. And today there's a lot of good information and consultants out there. And I'll just put a quick plug in. I actually wrote a book, How to Start and Run a Successful IT Company. Yep. And I wrote that because there was nothing out there written. I mean, Carl Palachek's how to go from managed services a month, how to go from break fix to managed services. But there was nothing about actually how to start an IT company and become a managed service provider. So that's why I wrote it. And it's out there on Amazon if you guys want to check it out. Also, TimTaylorConsulting.com. I help a lot of people. I still run my own MSP every day, but I help a lot of people start their MSPs and grow their company from scratch. Just like I started out of the trunk of my car. Today, I've got 15 employees, and we do straight managed services today. So if I can help you guys out in any way, just reach out to me, and I'd love to help you out.
Yep, it's actually a great book. Me and Jeff have both read it. It's really great. Another book for those that are thinking about quitting their job and starting a computer repair shop. Matt Rodella had also wrote the book on Amazon as well. For those that are looking at the computer repair shop route as well, and working on residential and managed services, that's also a great book for those that are trying to start out. I read that as well for starting out, and that was a great book. So both of those, I'll make sure that those are both in the show links, so you can get those from Tim and also Matt's book as well.
Yeah, we all did residential back in the early days,
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. Everybody's got a computer at home, so you'll just have more clients because they only have 1 or 2 computers, but you can still make good money on residential.
Absolutely. So why don't we go into the main topic? This was a topic that was brought up by our community. It is things you should have implemented in your business but haven't. And this kind of came about because of multiple reasons. I think that we are all in a unique position in this day and time where not only are our customers and our clients are in a very vulnerable state. If you're not up to date and keeping track of everything cybersecurity and IT wise, but also on the flip end, if you're not doing the best you can for your own business, you're also being targeted as well, as we've been seeing in the last several months. So we wanted to bring up this topic. We have two seasoned business owners here who have really, been through the ringer and kind of really understood a lot of things through their experiences on what they've done to implement in the business that you may not have it. So I will probably go ahead and kick off to Tim, because I love this story that he told. He was at a road show for Datto, and I thought it was a great story because it's one of those really scare into your pit of your stomach type of situation if that was your client and trying to figure out what happened. And Tim can kind of tell the story more about a prospect that he was visiting on this story. But I thought it was a great one to kind of kick it off on something that you should implement, but you haven't.
Yeah, absolutely. Was this about the dentist I was talking about?
Yeah,
exactly. Absolutely. Well, I got called into the lady I know that she does HIPAA compliance audits just for dental offices. And she called me and she said, hey, there's a dentist out here that's been totally crypto lock hacked. Would you come out and take a look at his network? So I drive out there and I get there and it's a huge dental practice. I mean, the parking lot was full of cars. I go in the building, everybody's just walking around in circles. Nobody can do anything. And they lead me back to the back room, and the old dentist that owned the practice was back there. He's standing beside his server, and the first words out of his mouth was, "This is the closest I've ever felt in my life to having a heart attack." And I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "I'm totally locked out, and they want $50,000 ransom." And I said, "Well, where's your backup?" He's like, "I got these two little hard drives plugged into my server, little Windows backup. That's all I've got." And I said, "Where's your remote backup?" And he said, "My IT guy's been trying to sell me one for 2 years, and I didn't want to pay the $200 or $300 a month, to put it in." And I was like, so obviously I was at a roadshow for Datto. We only use Datto backups. They're excellent. They've got a wide range of products. They have a 2 terabyte unit. They'll give you the unit, the hardware piece. You put it on site. And I think our cost as MSPs is only like $79 a month. It'll back up 2 terabytes of data into the cloud. And you can double that or whatever you want to charge your client. But you just can't have clients out there in this day and time. You cannot have clients out there that don't have this type of backup. There's lots of other products out there, but to me, being able to virtualize a server onto the Datto, if your server crashes, you can virtualize right on the Datto. I have a medical office, one of my clients that a big spine, it's called the Spine and Scoliosis Center here in Orlando. And a few years ago, their main server was really old. I said, "Look, you've got to buy a new server." We put this thing in here like 8 years ago. It's about to croak. And so she finally signed the contract on Friday. What happens Monday morning? The old server just crashes completely. We can't get it back up. So we spun them up on the Datto. Within an hour, we had them spun up on the Datto and working. They ran off the Datto all week. And then over the weekend, we put a new server in. We imaged, now the Datto's got the change data on it. We imaged onto the new hardware. And Monday morning, when they come back in the next Monday, they're up and running. So, you just can't take those kind of chances today with your clients. You just can't. So I'm a big proponent for Datto and Autotask. Their PSA is excellent. So they work well together. And, that's where it'll just really bite you. If you don't have good backups today, either they're going to pay the ransom. And when they pay the ransom, I don't care what you've told them, they're going to blame you. Somehow they're going to blame you. I shouldn't have gotten infected or whatever. You can just do this yeoman's effort to get them back up again, restore from old backups or something. And they're still, after they pay that ransom or be down for days, they're still going to blame you for it. So I think a good backup system like that protects you more than as much as it protects the client.
Right. And I think you even mentioned that sometimes, and we've always preached for many, many years, backup is going to save, CYA, no matter how many times you get it. And I even remember you mentioned that, look, even if they don't want to buy it at certain times, just as you running your business, you're just going to have to eat that cost and figure out where you're going to put the cost elsewhere, because you just can't afford not to do it.
Absolutely. You really can't. Not in today's day and time. It's just too easy for the networks to get locked down or, just God knows what. And you're playing, I'd tell people you're playing Russian roulette with like 4 bullets in the chamber without it. Because you're going to lose the business. Figure out a way to put it in there. Put it in there anyway and charge them up your cost per machine a little bit or something like that, or just eat the cost if you absolutely have to. But the bigger places, they know they need it. and they're usually willing to pay for it. It's the smaller places that don't want to take on the extra expense, but get a small unit. I mean, they're just not that expensive. Yeah. But be able to restore very quickly, image backups, even file by file restores. I mean, you've got to be able to do that today. That's just all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many solutions to be able to do this. Datto being a partner of ours at the last TECHCON. There are other backup vendors as well, depending on your preference. I mean, this is something that is just we've learned that is needed nowadays. Tom, what do you have anything to add on backup with your clients and how you kind of do that process?
Like a lot of mine are very small. I have no servers. I'm in kind of a unique area, at least in terms of who I'm willing to support. So I literally do not have any servers. So what I do is I'll do a local image backup of every computer on the network, and then we back that up to the cloud. And we typically use a Synology NAS to handle all that. And that's a right-sized thing for my 3-user network, 5-user network. It lets me sleep at night and allows me the ability to to restore that image within hours. And I tell them, I can have you back up in hours. It's not days for any of these solutions. And so, I mean, I still have some single user businesses using Carbonite or iDrive, and I even had one that got a crypto and encrypted everything. And, we were able to get everything back from a combination of Carbonite and Dropbox, because Dropbox, you can't just go up because it's encrypting, it's syncing the encrypted files. You have to call them, and they can handle it. But the vendors are getting smarter about it too, so that's kind of encouraging. So they're giving us methodologies to be able to recover. But yeah, 100%. I mean, in every client that we engage, we force them to take a backup or to sign the paper that says, Tom said I needed a backup, but I refused.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, there are many other brands out there, and then some of them are cheaper. And in a smaller environment like that, Datto does have a software only backup now, kind of like Carbonite. It does an image of your workstation up in the cloud, and you can even spin it up. And I've never done it, but you can even spin that up.
How about that?
In the cloud, especially somebody on like a laptop.
Do you know what that's called by any chance?
If you just, I don't.
It's called Datto's Business Continuity for PC.
Yeah. I think it's about $10 per month, but you get a full image. Somebody has a laptop, gets stolen, or they drop it and they break it. Then you can pull that entire image back, put it right back on a new laptop, and they're back in business, or a new hard drive, whatever.
That similar thing is through my RMM. I have that through SolarWinds. I have that option, so it's nice that it's all on the same dashboard.
Yeah, exactly.
I like to keep things tidy, but that's a good piece of advice. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and kind of like you mentioned, Tom, I don't have any servers for any of my clients. Usually a majority of them are either on they're basically 10 users, 20 users or less. Usually don't have any servers because I'm either tying them either into Jump Cloud for Active Directory or for Azure Active Directory, depending on the flavor of their shop. And then we're using Magnus Box, also a partner from our conference and a good friend of the network, where we do the same thing. We do the file-based backup into, we have a couple Synology NASs in our clients. And then for image backups, we then also throw that into the cloud as well to save us time as well.
Sure.
And as Tim mentioned, the versioning and, you want to make sure that as you research this, because I know there's a lot of our audience that have asked, hey, I'm using X, but I'm considering on looking at other vendors as well. What should I be looking at? And these things are going to, you want to make sure, depending on what regulations or compliances you have to keep up with on your client's industry, you want to make sure the versioning is at the time level that's going to be able to help you get that data back, because there's some regulations that need you to have it for indefinite. There's some that need it for X amount of years. So that's something you want to make sure you take a look at as you kind of move forward from there. And also making sure flexibility and what makes it work for you. But all in all, you want to make sure you have backups, because without backups, you just really are just not going to.
And backups in the cloud. Okay. Yes. Not just local backups, also backup in the cloud, because sometimes that's the only place to get it back.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And especially like, Jeff has mentioned multiple times that it's criminal to just have one type of backup. You should always have 3 types of backups. There should always be a local, a cloud, and offsite at any chance that you can get. So,
absolutely.
So now that we've kind of beaten the backup horse so much as we can right now, another thing that I've been tackling as a big initiative for all my clients is MFA, multi-factor authentication. Something that just, some people haven't implemented in their own business, some have, but they just haven't figured out how to do it. I was previously on G Suite, migrated over to Office 365. Microsoft kind of changed the way that they did their MFA, where it used to be Windows app passwords. Now they have the modern authentication, which threw me for a loop. But it's needed. You have to get to MFA. And I'm just curious on what you guys are doing for your clients. What tools have you implemented in trying to keep all of this kind of together education wise, and also just implement on a tool set wise as well? Tom, I'll go ahead and throw it to you.
Yeah, I mean, MFA is certainly important. And soon as stuff started getting real, when we started to read all these things about other MSPs getting hacked, and that's the stuff that keeps me up at night. So we instituted the two-factor stuff. It's got to be 2 years ago on virtually everything that we could, we put in LastPass teams for our stuff locally, because the stuff that we're doing, again, it's not as complicated as some, but we still need to manage it. And so it's a different piece, and it's not connected. So if we do kind of get hacked over here, we're kind of insulated over there. And if anybody does hack the LastPass stuff, all they'll get is a bunch of encrypted stuff that's not going to help them. So yeah, I mean, staying ahead of that one is kind of big. But I mean, my things that should have been implemented that haven't been yet, mine all kind of focus around business stuff. Is it okay to talk about that now, or do you want to keep talking about this?
Well, let me hit with Tim on what he's kind of doing for MFA. Sure. and how he's implementing that with his clients. Yeah,
we use Duo, DUO, excellent product. It's only about, I think it's about $3 per user per month. Yeah. And it's just not that expensive, and it's easy to integrate with Active Directory. But if the way I demo it with clients, I say, watch how this works. I just go out to their office. I said, let's bring up Outlook Online. I'll put in my username, my password, something, my phone goes off. I said, look, I'll just click right here and I'm in. Okay. But even Outlook Web Access, you've got to authenticate. You've got to do the dual factor. A lot of programs, I know, like the Datto Cloud, when you log in there, they have two-factor turned on, where they have an app that goes on your phone. You have to approve it. Like you said, anywhere that you can turn it on, it needs to be turned on. Absolutely. Because it's too scary out there today. And again, if something happens, you have to say, well, I was doing this, I was doing that, I was doing everything that I could do to keep this from happening. Gotcha. And Duo is just really easy to roll out. We've had clients that went through audits, and one of the things that the auditor said, you've got to turn on two-factor. One of the things you can do, if you have a larger client, you can say, the Duo two-factor, I know you can do it in this one. Don't make me do it if I'm in the office physically. If I'm behind this IP in my office, every time I log on, I don't have to put in the two-factor. I do it in my office. I have to put it in every time I log on to my PC. But you could say only people remoting in or people outside the office, you have to put in that, you have to approve it through your phone. So there is a way to make it not quite so intrusive with people when they're sitting at their own desk. Gotcha. But so if somebody fights you, I don't want to do that every time I log into the office. Well, you don't have to. You can turn that part of it off. But if you're just away from the office, or anybody coming in from the outside, they got to do the two-factor. Yeah,
but you don't want to take your shoes off every time you get on an airplane either. But it's right. It's like one of those things you gotta have to do. I mean, I have the banking one will send you a text, and some of these other ones will just send you a text message.
Right.
But I have what the hell is that stuff called? Authy. I've got like 12 things on here.
Yeah.
And I have to have my phone with me constantly, right. And I'm okay with it because.
And who doesn't have their phone with them constantly anyway?
Of course.
Everybody. And your point there, it was a good point. People are getting used to it because their banks are starting to require it, and other places are starting to require it. I mean, Authy is what the one Datto uses. That you just come right in there, and it's not that big a hassle. And every time I have to do it, I go, you know what? I feel good that I'm being protected.
Yep, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I have it for my Repair Shopper, for my SolarWinds, for my QuickBooks, for PayPal, for Facebook, for my Office 365. I mean, I have it for everything. So it's become second nature. And with the Face, on the iPhone, I just have to, some of the stuff I just have to look at it, which is great. So FBI can't even get in my iPhone.
So you bring up a great point on using the mobile device on doing the two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication. Have you received any pushback for those that only have their personal cell phones that they're bringing into the workplace and don't necessarily have business accounts that the companies are providing business phones to their customers?
No, that's never been for me.
I haven't had a problem with it. I mean, most people really don't want to keep up with two phones. They don't mind it coming to their personal phone. And it's just, you're proving who you are. I mean, that's really the point. You're proving who you are when you're going to log in. And nobody really, because banks are trying to require it with everybody. Or if you log into your bank account from some place that you haven't really logged into before, it's going to text you and say, you got to put this code in. So it's getting so common now that people are just accepted it. And, I did have we first put it on at this law firm, and this guy was trying to log on with his laptop, and he walked up to the third floor where our IT guy is working. He's like, I can't log in, and he goes, well, you got to do your phone, and the phone was back out on the first floor. Well, I'm sorry, you got to keep your phone with you. Yeah,
and there's great alternatives as well. There's the UB keys, the Titan keys, that are becoming very popular now for those that want to not use the mobile device, or if they lose their device and they keep it in their wallet or in their RFID badges and things of that nature attached to it. So there's plenty of ways to try and make it easy as possible. But it's just one of those, it's a necessity and things that you should implement in your business. So if you haven't, this is coming from us, this definitely you want to. We're going to take a quick break real quick to talk about how everyone can support the show. To support the show, go to patreon.com/MSP Unplugged. We want to appreciate everyone that is supporting us and the network. This is what brings the show to you every day, helps Jeff keep the lights on. And we want to thank all of our Patreon supporters currently for your continued support. So we're going to go into, why don't we go into probably maybe one or two more things that we should implement in your business and have it, and we'll kind of just wrap it up there. Is there any items that come front to mind, Tom, that you really have to implement, but you just haven't had the chance to, or just haven't had the time, but it's one of those critical things or priority on your list to kind of get addressed, whether it's within your own business or with a client's business?
I didn't put the microscope on myself. Okay. I probably should have. I was thinking of what others should be doing that I thought was really important that I've noticed that a lot have not done. Okay. In speaking with a lot of people. And I know it's hard in the beginning, expenses being what they are and everything, but a lot of my stuff centers around operations and kind of business, the management of the business, and less about technical stuff. Is that okay? Can I?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, insurance is one of the biggest things. And there's a bunch of insurance, and I don't think everybody realizes what they actually need to have. I mean, there's the standard liability insurance, the business owner policy. They typically call it a BOP. There's E&O insurance for errors and omissions when you screw up, one of your people screws up. There's obviously a cyber policy in case you get pinched and your data gets exposed. And one thing about the liability insurance, so doing residential or business stuff, if you take a component out of a person's home or business and you're walking to your car and you trip and fall on their sidewalk and you smash the thing, it's covered by their insurance. If you bring it into your car and you're driving and you get hit, it's covered by your auto insurance. If you're taking it up the stairs in your building or your house and you fall, your homeowners or your business owner's policy will take it. But if you park across the street and you're not on their property and you're not on yours and you're not in your car yet and you drop it, there's no coverage for it. Well, there is coverage, and it's a rider called Bailey, like you're a bail, like a bailsman, a bailee, BAILEE policy. And I got one for like $5,000 or something, just so, because I never had it happen, but it could. And so that, kind of just stirs up my paranoia about everything, about having everything covered. And in this day and age, with such a litigious society that we're in, I umbrella all my policies together between the auto and the home and the work and the auto and the home and the work, and I umbrella the whole thing together, so I get twice as much coverage in case we were to get sued. So I think insurance is a big thing, and I bring it up routinely if I get some pushback on price by a client. If they ask me about price, I'm like, don't you want to ask me anything else? How long I've been in business? Am I insured? Am I certified? If you want to lead with price, we're probably not a good fit for each other. But the insurance part, it's a big overhead. And, layer in health insurance. Tim will tell you with a staff, it's brutal.
Yeah. It's expensive.
Yeah. So the insurance is a big thing. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to have it in today's society. I mean, today's market too, finding technicians. If you don't have, I'm one of the few small businesses. My insurance guy told me that still offers healthcare for his employees. I'll offer healthcare, I'll offer a 401k. And, I'm not a massive business. I do have 15 employees, but if you don't offer them those kind of things, somebody else is going to hire them. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for people, these young guys, they're pretty, the young technical guys, they all want to work at some fun place. It makes a difference in the world, and they want benefits and they want free lunch. Well, I can't provide that, but I provide a good work environment, but you've got to have those insurance coverages. I mean, talk to your insurance guy, and that umbrella policy is a great idea. I mean, absolutely great idea. One thing I was going to mention that I didn't do early enough in my business, this was, many years ago, was get on a good PSA tool early enough and learn it yourself as the business owner. Now, if you're in a smaller business, computer shopper, things like that are fine for you. But if you're starting to do businesses and you need people to be able to submit tickets and just do everything that a full PSA does, I should have done it earlier. When we did do it, I didn't spend enough time learning it well. I didn't use all the components that I should have. I finally did. But once you find one and stick with it, once you find one, I'm going to say stick with it. If it's good and you're not going to outgrow it, something big like ConnectWise or AutoTask, which are not as expensive as a lot of people think. Basically, I consult with a lot of people that are small IT companies that want to grow bigger. They want to succeed more. They want to make more money. And one of the biggest problems that I see with a lot of these guys I work with is guys and girls is that they spend too much time jumping in between applications. They're like, oh, I tried this for a while. I tried this for a year. Then I tried that one. Then I tried this one. The next shiny bauble that's out there. You waste so much time doing that. And time management, especially when you're small, is extremely important because you may be the only person in there doing all the billing and doing all the work and everything else. Or maybe you have one technician that helps you. And if you waste a lot of time looking at a lot of different fancy things just because it looks good, that's just time that's just floating away, that you're not on billable hours or you're not, out there signing up new customers. It's very easy to fall in that trap because we're technicians. We like looking at new things, but you can waste a lot of time doing that. In the early days, I liked the fact that I was billing by the hour because every minute I was thinking about, am I able to bill this time? Am I billing this time? And if I'm not billing it, I'm losing money basically. Yeah. So, early on, establish your business, establish where you want to go, buy the tools that would help you get to where you want to go.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I suffered from that. And when I first started back in 2013, I was trying to get all the nice shiny toys and try and get everything all together. Right. And, then the next thing came out and I jumped on this and then this didn't really do what I wanted to do instead of really just, like you just said, sticking with one, learning it and kind of going from there. Right. And I've stuck with the PSA and now RMM tool that I've had for coming on now 3 years that they've been around, but their entire infrastructure for the last 5.5 years, understanding the automations, understanding the remediations, understanding right. how, it integrates with AV and, what's the next AV and why you should consider it, and really standing your ground once you've immersed right. yourself in that tool right. and just really staying there, a couple of us get together. We have a little small masterminds that we all basically review the tools that we all have. We try to align with certain tools that we get. And then we basically tell ourselves, all right, once we vetted, let's say AV, right? We had a big AV conversation and we ended up saying, all right, once we've decided on this AV, we've tested it, we figure it, we like it, it deploys well across all of our RMMs. It communicates back to our PSAs. We're staying with this for the next year. We're not we're not going to look at the next nice little thing, no matter what little features it comes out with, no matter what happens, even if it saves us a couple cents. Like you just said, it's the amount of time that it takes that you can't bill takes even more time away from you. And I have quite a few friends that, you know, try to save the pennies and are losing the dollars because they're trying to figure out what it is. And then there's those that, you know, and I continue to keep saying this every show, there's a great opportunity to be able to be frugal, but don't be cheap. There's a huge difference between those two. And I know a lot of us tend to take that cheap route because we want to do that. But there's a difference between being frugal and investing in yourself and in the tools that you have to make you more efficient. And that's a big piece that we want to try to harp on.
Absolutely. I mean, you could save a few, you know, you might save a few bucks looking at this other product, but you spent 20 hours, you know, looking at it and putting it in and all this other stuff. And you might never make back that 20 hours of lost productivity. Never. On that one little tool. So yeah, find the right thing, stick with it. Absolutely. And if you don't know what to use, ask someone, you know, ask people on this show. I mean, we all can help you. And you know, there are people out there that are doing what you do every single day. Get the wisdom of them. But you know, time management is very, very important.
Yes, that is a huge thing that even now I learn. And I think even Tom, you had talked about this in an episode quite a bit ago, and I'll try and find that link.
I'm a slave to it. I really am. I have a digital folder in Outlook, one for marketing, one for financial. You know, I have like a bunch of different folders, right? One for quotes, and then I have a physical folder with the same labels on them. So as digital stuff comes in, it gets thrown into that folder in Outlook. And as physical stuff comes in, it gets thrown in the folder on my desk. And then the time slot for marketing or sales or financial comes up. I take the digital folder, I go through it. I take the physical folder, I go through it. I get it all done. I put it back and I start over. That's my window. I just kind of break everything down into a much smaller box. It's really good for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but really good for me.
Yeah.
And I think you even created a whole calendar that you shared with us at one point that kind of worked out on how you used to plan out that week. And, you know, whether it's monitoring your PSA early in the morning, going and finding out for those prospects and really helping organize and tackle the week versus just going into the week and just hoping for the best and, you know, and spraying and praying and kind of go from there.
Well, I spend, you know, like an hour every week on process, just like going through and, you know, things trying to perfect the process. I spend, you know, marketing time, quote time, all of it. And it's like, if you block it off, you're more likely to do it. It's easy to substitute it, but you know, it's harder to stick to it, but it's really worth it in the end. I mean, my desk is very neat and business is good. And, you know, so I feel like that coordination or organization can turn chaos into calm.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I feel very calm.
Tim, what have you done for time management over the years, and what's worked for you to try and keep all the spinning plates spinning?
Yeah. Well, you know, as I grew the company, I mean, get this, guys, in 1999, when I started, you know, cell phones were new. You know, not everybody had a cell phone. I had a pager when I started. You know, I had a Franklin day planner that I wrote everything in. You know, there's no smartphones, none of that stuff. Okay. So I had to learn how to be very disciplined with that. I think the Franklin day planner was one of the greatest things I had, because I literally was organizing every day, and it kept all my notes, you know, everything I ever wrote down note wise. I even had the, you know, the pinouts, how you wire an Ethernet cable. I had the colors on the back of the book. You know, I could always just flip to it if I needed it. So it was my whole life. And now all that's moved into my phone. But I'm larger than some of you. You know, I have an assistant now at the office. I mean, she basically, she's in charge of my schedule. My schedule is the most important thing to me. And so I'm like, you know, I need a meeting with so-and-so within a week. She puts it on the schedule, finds the time. She answers the phone for me, that type of stuff. She does other things in the office too. She's one of our main administrators, but that was a really big thing for me. And then as I grew the company, I realized my biggest skill was in selling. Okay. Selling and, you know, obviously leading the company, but selling. And so I take everything off my schedule that doesn't revolve around that. And I hired a general manager a couple of years ago. So all my employees report to him. He's been with me 5 years now, but we have doubled in revenue in the last 5 years. Okay. Since I hired him. Wonderful. He runs day-to-day operations. So I can go to sales conferences. I can go out and meet people. I could be out of the office all week meeting potential new customers and doing the leads groups and things like that. And the office still runs great. So all my employees know they report to him and not me. So I don't take a lot of my time. I've told myself that every minute I'm not out selling, I'm losing money. And I have to look at it that way. Every minute I'm not engaged in something that's growing the business, I feel like I'm losing money. And because you never know when something's going to happen to you. You can build up a decent sized business and 2 or 3 of your employees can leave and try to take your business away from you. They can laugh at your non-compete contract, say, yeah, sue me, see how far you get. Okay. I mean, that can happen to you. Yeah. And suddenly if you're not growing and you're not adding new business all the time, you lose a big client and you could be really suffering. You could miss your house payment. I mean, you got to be constantly growing the business. And I don't care how big you are, you always have to be thinking about growing your business. So with me, time management is very important. My schedule is very important. So everything I don't know how to do, I don't have time to do, or don't want to do, I delegate it to.
No, and I agree with you 100%. And I've heard stories where, for those that are trying to figure out how to expand and split themselves and how do they get more done. Once they've added a person or 2 people, depending on the role, whatever item they're in charge of, it ends up increasing. So like you just mentioned, the revenue doubled because you kind of took yourself away from running everything and did the sales because now there's someone that had a policy and procedures that they're following. There's no wiggle room because it's not the owner wiggling the room. Because I know a lot of us have, looked at contracts, and same thing when you hiring a salesperson. If you were going ahead and pitching your products and services in the early days, you kind of gave a little discount here, you added a couple units here, things like that. Whereas a salesperson who's following this procedure doesn't have that same ability, and you're increasing your revenue from there. Same thing with productivity with admins and like you just mentioned, your assistant helping with your productivity as well.
The first person I hired years ago, back when I was hourly billing, not managed services, because managed services wasn't invented yet, was the first person I hired was a part-time technician, to help me out. The second person I hired was a full-time administrator. She was in charge of answering the phone, doing all the invoices, scheduling me and the other tech, so I could be out there on billable time all the time and not wasting my time, even though I'd still work till 1 or 2 in the morning doing things, outside of the billable time. But she was so critical in getting our company moving forward, and I wasn't having to take my billable time. I would always think I'm worth $100 an hour every hour, and every 5 minutes I'm over here doing something administrative that she could have done is money that I'm losing. Yeah. And so I wanted to be on billable time 8 hours a day if I could do it. And so every minute I could give her something, it just really saved time. And I know a lot of people don't like to hire administrators, but man, my wife did it with me for a number of years, and then we outgrew her. Okay. And so I had a full-time administrator. She worked out of her home. Our main number rang at her home, and she answered the calls. She scheduled, I had 8 technicians and myself before we opened our first office. Yeah. And the guys would just work from their homes, or they would go straight from their home to their first job. And she was coordinating that whole thing. And so it really worked out well.
That's the exact same track that I took. I had the part-time technician, and then I got the admin because I was doing everything. And it was stupid. And even, you come to realize that when you need to make more money, or you want to make more money, you could either raise your prices, you could create more hours in the day, which is a little harder to do than raising your prices, or you can get help. Yeah. And if the idea is that, without sounding crass, is you need to make money off other people's back.
Yes.
You need to hire somebody for $50 an hour and bill them out for $100 an hour. Yep. So that's just the way of the world. That's how it is.
That's the way it works. Yeah. If you want to grow, you've got to get that administrative work done. Everybody hates the administrative work. It's got to get done. Yep. So hire somebody to do it, so you can be out there in billable time.
Yep. And I agree. I think a lot of for those that are trying to figure out, well, I wish I can afford it. I wish I can figure out whatever. Me speaking personally, at one point I had, I think, 6 or 7 people helping me while I was part-time running my business. And the reason for that is I had a lot of people that bought into my mission. They were working on other things that I could provide them, whether it was different perks, different benefits, equity, whatever the case may be. My good friend, who I always call my second hand guy, who, when I'm in a pinch and I can't take care of some stuff, he helps me on the after hours calls, because I don't want to do the after hours calls, but he doesn't mind doing it. Going into a server room, taking care of the cleaning up of the closet, being there till 1 o'clock in the morning is extra income for him. That's something I would have been paid for, that I structured myself to be able to do. So I really encourage you guys to really think out of the box. And the best thing that really helped me to really get out of my mindset of go on a whiteboard, write on a piece of paper, write all the things that you do, and figure out where can you put a person to do that. And once you kind of get your organizational chart, all right, who do you know right now would be really cool or really that you work with, that you can rely on, that, you know, might not necessarily be a family member, because we all have heard you don't want to have family working with you, but there are sometimes businesses where that has worked for you. You know, figure out who you can plug into those, and now figure out how can you get them to work and help you out, because it really, like, it's exactly how Tom said, and exactly like Tim said, nobody said work for them. They all said help them. And that's the big piece there, because there are people that want to see you successful and want to help you, and you need the help, and you can also work to help them as well. So that's the thing
there are tons of retired or semi-retired administrators, you know, older ladies, whatever, you know, they'll answer the phone for you. They'll put a ticket in for you, and you start training them. Here's how you do invoices. Here's how you can help me get a quote together. Here's how you can do all that messy stuff that just takes so much of your time and energy. And they, even if they can only do it 50% as fast as you, it still got done.
Yep.
You know, it still got done. And you don't have to even, they can work from home. You don't even have to pay them that much. I mean, you know, you want to pay them decently, but, you know, they want to work, and they want maybe they can work for you 20 hours a week. Start somebody out at 20 hours a week. Just work for me from 8 till noon every day.
That's what I did. The admin, I call it a mom job. I was getting a mom after they dropped the kids off at school.
Absolutely.
You know, get them from 9 to 1 or 9 to 2. And they loved it because they got out of the house and made a little money. And often these, you know, at least in this area, I'm assuming everywhere, really well-educated people. And, you know, they stopped, you know, so that they could make babies. And now, you know, they're growing their family, but they want to get their hands back in something. So this is a great opportunity.
Yeah, just be there for me from the time you drop the kids off to the time you have to go pick them up. You don't have to be there, you know, answer the phone for me. You know, create these invoices for me, you know, whatever you want them to do, you take the time to train them, and that just frees you up to sell or build billable time or whatever it is you're doing. So yeah, again, it was the second employee I hired, and I hired her as a full-time administrator. So
gotcha. A lot of great inputs, a lot of great information. We're actually have run out of time. We're up and against the hour here. I want to thank you both for coming out on a Sunday evening. I understand that that's a little bit tight for a lot of people, so I do appreciate your time. We don't have any emails this week, but if you do send out some, and if you did send it, Jeff hasn't sent them over to me, so we'll go over them next week. But if you do have any emails, you can send your emails with your questions and comments to Jeff at mspunplugged.com, or post in the Facebook group. If you are a Patreon supporter, you'll be able to put it in the Facebook private group, where we have, I think we got close to 150 to 175 people there. It's a very great group. It's a great community. You know, we don't try to make every question is a good question. We don't want to make anybody feel stupid. We don't want to make anybody feel like they shouldn't be asking and can't engage with us. It's an open forum. We know that a lot of other Facebook groups, you know, there's a lot of texts or a lot of people that may belittle or make people feel dumb and asking questions and don't say anything, which I absolutely hate, which is why we try to keep this group as clean as possible. And if we do happen to see anybody do that in our group, I personally get rid of them. And that's our zero tolerance. We don't appreciate just basically making anybody feel less than what they are. It's an open forum. We are all learning. So if you haven't joined, definitely join over there. Before we end it off, Tim, if anybody wanted to reach out to you or get in contact with you, how would they go ahead and reach out?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to timtaylorconsulting.com. You can fill out a form there. If you just want to email me, it's ttaylor@timtaylorconsulting.com.
Perfect. I appreciate you coming out.
I'd love to help you guys out. I help a lot of MSPs around the country grow, or people that want to become MSPs. So I'd love to help you out.
Awesome. Tom, if anyone wanted to get a hold of you, how can they go ahead and reach out?
I love talking to people who are just getting started. And I've got some great advice on, you know, mistakes that I made and things that I could do to help them just get the business side of things going, not necessarily the technical side, but certainly the business side. So I'm at tworivercomputer.com, TWO rivercomputer.com, just like it says over here and back there. And there's probably some other stuff. You can call me too, 732-747-0020. I'm at extension 107 on my new VoIP phone system. So yeah, call me, talk to me. Hit me up on Facebook or whatever you want. And thanks for coming out tonight.
Yep, and we appreciate you coming out as well. You can find me and Jeff. Normally, come join us every Sunday at 7:30 Eastern. You can watch live and hang out in the chat room over on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. You can also subscribe to your favorite podcatcher so you never miss an episode under MSP Unplugged. Thank you for subscribing to the show, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.